Ooh, chat's in big slow mode. I simp for Moxie's damage. 10 freaking seconds, dude. Let's go.
Today in a very special at-home edition of the Borderlands show, Fran and I are going to talk about our time with the Revenge of the Cartels event.
But it's not just us, Greg. We got Mitsu back with us talking about Mayhem.
Mitsu wearing scarves, baby. Let's go. It's a good day.
Mapping the human gut biome in Borderlands science.
If that wasn't enough, though, we're going to check out the new Takedown. We're going to talk about when that's coming out. You're going to see the first footage that you've seen anywhere right here.
Oh, well, if you like reveals, Gearbox creative director Matt Cox is here to reveal the official title and release date of DLC 3 and give us all those juicy gameplay details.
That's pretty good. I'm going to try to one-up you.
Volume up a bit. I get you.
DLC 4.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a textbook case of a humdinger of a show.
How about now?
Don't go anywhere. This is the Borderlands show.
Volume up. That's all the way up. Better?
That's right, everybody. It's a brand new episode. So remember, of course, you need to go subscribe. Twitch.tv/Borderlands, YouTube.com/Borderlands game. And the show doesn't happen without you. So get your questions and comments in at kindafunny.com/Borderlands. Fran, welcome back to the show once again, Mitsu.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
How are you?
It's so good to be here again. I'm glad that I could sit in and be a part of the program.
Well, we're always happy to have you in here, giving us this community. You live Borderlands 3. You're out there in the community. You're doing all your different shows about it. I want to start right there because it seems every time you're on the show, something is happening with Bordercast or Ultimate Vault Hunters. What is the update this time?
So Ultimate Vault Hunters, we're going to talk about that first, is a new show that Liz55, a previous guest on the Borderlands show, she is hosting it. And the kind of focus of the show is a little bit different. It's all about taking the hardcore builders of the community, your Lazy Data, your K6, your Jolts dude, and having them come on and break down their crazy builds that allow them to do the wildest things at Mayhem 10. Awesome. And it's just a fun breakdown for people to watch and kind of gain a new perspective on how to play the game.
New show.
As for the Bordercast, Tess and I had a little bit of a conversation. We decided we wanted to give Liz our slot at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m.
Don't worry
Pacific
about it, guys. Don't
on
worry
Thursdays.
about it.
And now the Bordercast is moving to Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. So we've kind of had a bit of a schedule change, but we're thinking that it's going to long-term work out for the best for everybody.
That's rad. And of course, the big thing for all of the Borderlands shows, both Ultimate Vault Hunters and Bordercast, and our own, the Borderlands show that you're watching right now,
we'll get him
officially everybody have an audio podcast feed. So all the Borderlands shows you could possibly want are going up as podcasts on all the podcast services you'd be used to. So you can get them and subscribe to them and like them. Just one feed to rule them all, packed with all the Borderlands shows you want. Fran, I think this has been the number one thing we've heard is feedback from people who like the show.
Yep, I'm super excited to be able to listen to it anywhere now.
It's going to be a cool
Exactly.
show.
More housekeeping for you, of course, before we get into the thing, reveal DLC 3, talk about the future, a whole bunch of cool stuff's happening. Revenge of the Cartels, the event is still going on, of course. It wraps up, though, June 4th, which is coming up quickly, so you need to get in there and start earning those rewards. We're going to talk your ear off when we get to what you've been playing, because, of course, we've been playing Revenge of the Cartels. But it's not even that. It's crazy that we want to talk about that, but since we last did the Borderlands show, which again, ladies and gentlemen, Fran and I were hired to do the Borderlands show to break the news about Borderlands to you. Then I wake up in the morning and turn to open my email and I find all this Borderlands news breaking. It's been a bunch of surprises. Borderlands science has been killing it. Fran, have you gone and done some of the Borderlands science stuff?
Yeah, it's really cool. Teaming up for the good of actual humanity,
guys, don't worry about
but bringing a cool puzzle game into it, and you can get rewards, right?
Exactly.
If you spend time in there. So
yeah, we don't want to talk here off. We assume you've done Borderlands Science. Of course, it's a game. You go inside, go to Tannis's workshop. You go there. There's a little arcade cabinet. You go through. You match some things. You do some stuff, and guess what? You're connecting the missing parts of the gut bacteria to then figure out the poop stuff. So you're helping actually scientific. You're getting rewards. rewards and you're helping
figuring
science.
out-
I still
That's
haven't
what I
gotten
know.
my head since
Let's
getting
just
this.
let's be real with people.
But more importantly for me at least, you're getting the XP bonuses, you're getting all sorts of stuff at the end too. You can spend your money on that you make in this little guy.
Free
But
Borderlands
the
show.
Gearbox put out a
It's
press release
true.
even since that. So Borderlands Science is out. You can get it right now. Play it for free inside Borderlands 3. On top of that, there's this news: Borderlands Science, a mini game within Gearbox Software and 2K's best-selling, critically acclaimed video game Borderlands 3 that contributes to real-world biomedical studies, has seen players solve 36 million puzzles with more than 700,000 individual players from the larger Borderlands 3 community, solving an average of 1.2 million puzzles per day since the program launched on April 7th. Borderlands Science continues to grow, with nearly 250,000 new players joining within the last 2 weeks. That is
It's huge.
insane. Overall, players dedicated more than
Unbelievable.
86 total years of playtime to mapping.
That's a
the
lot of
human
playtime,
gut
dude.
microbiome. Mitsu, did you know this was coming? And then how often are you using it?
Thanks,
It's,
Daddy.
I didn't know it was
Appreciate you.
coming, but I'm really glad that it did. I always love games in games. So this
yeah.
was a cool little addition
a
to have
little
it. Like
bit. I'm
like
gonna turn it down a
GTA kind of
little
has that. Other video games have it where you can play old school video games, and this of course very stylized after old school puzzle games. You can
want
earn in-game
those
rewards,
loot
like you
drops.
said, and you can get sweet loot drops from it. You're helping contribute to science, and you're playing a cool puzzle game. And then when you're done with it, then you get to get some really cool loot.
Yeah.
You're telling-
and if for some reason you
I still
haven't
gotta
done
do,
it, I
like, a
did it.
stream
You
where I
know,
just
first day
play
it dropped,
this,
I spent my
'cause I
evening
haven't-
going through
I
and
haven't
getting to the
finished
max
it.
level and going through and beating all the different bosses you had on the ladder, and you get so much of the in-game currency to spend on it. I will never not be playing under double XP again. It's just always I don't need to worry. I think it's
Prime.
maybe actually
Hell
25%
yeah,
boost in
Ruben.
XP, but
Yeah.
the XP is there.
It's funny,
Still
I
a
think
nice
Mitsu
amount.
was talking about you can drink a tall, cool glass of Bud Stallion milk
Yeah.
and get
Oh,
what,
yeah.
increased loot drops. Was that one?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's pretty cool.
It's
And
really cool.
also, when your parents come over and try to bother you, what are you doing? Playing all these video games, and then you're like, I'm doing science.
Saturday morning after kill
Mom, it's for
impression.
I mean, I'm an
Science.
adult, Greg, but there's
What, you're an adult. What you're still gonna? I'm sure your parents still come over once in a while.
They do.
But what are you doing with your life, Francis?
It's true.
What are you doing with your life in this dark room with your?
The
I'm
your
doing
Sultan
science.
Science.
and the
What's
other
up,
surprise,
Taco?
since we last talked to you on the Borderlands show, ladies and gentlemen, the Borderlands Legendary Collection is coming to Nintendo Switch May 29th. It has Borderlands Game of the Year Edition, Borderlands 2, and Borderlands the pre-sequel. Mitsu, that's a hell of a package.
Yeah, it's so cool.
That's a nice
the last time that we
package,
ever saw
dude.
Borderlands on a portable device was back with the Vita with Borderlands 2. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, I do. Fran, do you? I'm sorry. Borderlands 2 on the PlayStation Vita. Who made that happen? Who got credit
I
from
mean,
everybody about that?
Was
do
it
you know
him?
anybody, Greg, who could
Like
have
maybe it was
made-
me, Greg Miller.
could
Mr.
bring
PlayStation
two
Vita, don't worry
companies
about
like
it.
that together?
cop
It's
Like,
me.
I
That's what I
have a
do out
Switch,
there.
but
I
I can
bridge
only
the
fit
gap.
2 games
All right,
on
I
it.
make sure Vitas are getting into the hands of everyone out there.
It's so good to see that it's on the
Borderlands
Switch. I can
2
play
and
Borderlands in my bed. I can
720p
relive
poggers.
the story of Borderlands 2, play the pre-sequel, Athena. I love throwing
That'd be a
shields.
fun
It's
game
gonna
to
be
play
so
on the
fun.
plane, though. You
Exactly.
can't
Yeah,
lie.
and I think
Can't
it's
lie.
awesome to see that open up for
Borderlands
a brand
2
new
on a plane.
audience, right?
Not
There's
that
so
you
many
can use
people
planes
that
anymore,
came
but-
into games again with the Switch, and now to have all these great Borderlands games there, that's dynamite. But
Not
Animal
any better
Crossing,
time for it
yeah.
too. Switch is what, selling 55 million units now?
it's doing pretty well. You know what I
It's
mean?
doing all
they're-
right.
They don't need our plugs.
Mario Party, great
But
game.
it's time, ladies and gentlemen, for us to talk to you about what we've been playing.
What we've been playing.
All right, guys, it's time to talk about what we've been playing in Borderlands 3, and I think obviously the lead story is Revenge of the Cartels. Fran, Mitsu, how much fun is this?
Oh my god, it's everything I could have possibly hoped for and
What's
more.
up, Kato?
This is
Morning.
like Bloody Harvest was great. This is unreal. People are saying on Twitter, I think Killer 6 specifically, but a lot of people have said this and echoed that sentiment, that they want this as content permanently. They would
Yeah.
pay for this content to be permanent.
Yeah, I agree with it. And going through, what I love about these events layered on top of what you're already doing in Borderlands is, of course, it gives you another reason to play, another angle to take on it, and more rewards to get.
Yo,
And I
this is a very
think
good weapon.
getting to go to Villa Ultraviolet, right?
People are saying
and
that it is,
have that soundtrack kick
it
in
is
and have
worthwhile.
these piles of iridium dust and have it be this Scarface mansion is so much fun to run through and fight, right, Fran?
So I can't hear you guys. I was jamming out to the synth
What's up,
wave
Mitsu?
in Cartels, and I just totally lost track
Good
of
to see
time.
you.
Seriously, that was my big thing for sure. The music is so cool. I keep saying this about the content that they're releasing, but they're doing such a great job with the music. But legitimately, this is the type of music I listen to when I stream.
Yeah.
And no joke, I was streaming playing Revenge of the Cartels, and I was like, wait, I left my music on. And I was like, wait, it's the game. And it's like pumped up.
Cartel.
And
They're
jamming.
keeping
So,
the annoyance.
Number
They're
one,
keeping
I
the
just thought,
annoyance.
yeah, the vibe, like you're saying, was so cool, and they really
Which
delivered
is
on
like
that. But,
amazing.
the event is fun.
Absolutely
yeah.
amazing.
The way that it mixed up the charters, the enemies.
By
that
the way,
is,
this is
the Cartels.
This is pre-recorded.
So I just thought they did a great job, and I agree.
This is like
with
recorded
Mitsu. I
like a
hope
little
that,
bit ago.
As much
Just
as I like
FYI.
limited time stuff too, hopefully they ought to bring it back sooner than later, because it's really cool.
Yeah, it feels like a little DLC to itself. Honestly, it's that engrossing.
Yeah, picking up Dakota rings, going out there. Every time I get to fight Joey, right? Get down in there and get just.
This stream
It's
is way
just
above
fun,
me.
and I know it's like the weirdest thing,
It
a way to
should be.
describe it, but
It should
I
be a
like
little bit
it.
above me.
I still get excited every time I get to go back.
Video games are fun. What a shocker.
All right, you know what I
But
mean?
it's
Video
like
games
Mitsu
are cool.
multitasking.
That's
Yeah,
t-shirt.
yeah,
Kinda
he's
funny.
typing in
Store
here
market
and
product.
talking right now.
So Revenge of the Cartels, yeah, something that's awesome. It's still going on. June 4th, however, is when it ends. That's coming up soon. That's going to be an important date, but I'll talk about that in a second. Because the other part of
Steve T,
this
what's
whole
up,
thing
man?
of what we've been playing since the last Borderlands show
Did you miss
is also
anything? Not
Mayhem
yet.
2.0
Not
has
yet.
dropped. And so
Can't hear
whenever
me
we do
very
this
well.
show,
I'll be
there's
closer
the
to my
varying,
microphone.
levels and scales of how much we've all played. For me with Mayhem 2.0, I am too much of a coward to
Derelict?
go
How you
beyond
doing?
Mayhem 3.0. Because that is like the right balance of when I want to go in there, test my build, test my metal, how can I hang, but then also I don't mind just dialing it down and having fun. How has it been for both of you guys?
Yeah, I was gonna say, just at a base, like it's awesome that
The
Mayhem
399
is
is staying.
So that's a reminder
It
if
is
you
staying.
haven't
Crazy
jumped
Game
back
Boy.
in, like
They
the old
confirmed
Mayhem
it's
is
staying.
gone, and now in menu you don't have to go back to Sanctuary. You literally just apply your new level; it'll reload the latest checkpoint. That alone, I love. I love to be able to, in real time, pretty much, be able to adjust
is
the level that
awesome.
I'm playing at.
They announced it, yeah.
Because I definitely lean a bit more into.
It was too
I
toxic.
want to
What's
make
up,
sure it's
Paranoid?
still
How you
fun.
doing?
I'm still working on my build, so I
Good
just
to
love
have
that
you
you're
here.
able to do that, and that they actually do have 10 gradients.
looks
At
like
first, I was like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And to be able to re-roll your modifiers as well, like it's super fast and intuitive. So I really like the way they've changed the system just at a base, and then it's made the game more fun because so I might get to a boss, for example, and I'll turn it up until like I run into trouble.
Yeah.
And again, to be able to do that really
Sandhawk and
easily
Chaosin
fun
are staying
and
because
enjoy
they're
it.
Mayhem 2.0.
Yeah, because having to go back to
Cartel
Sanctuary
weapons.
before was no good, and so having it there, like you're saying, that you
Those
can
are
go in there and
dedicated
you
drops in
can
the
test
base
yourself,
game.
or I'll find that's how I
Do they
settled
play
on
the
3,
game?
right?
Yes,
is
they
that I'll
play
be
the game a
playing
lot.
and be struggling, but
They
I
do.
gotta come back down. I gotta come back down. I gotta figure this out.
Because it's more accessible, it legitimately has changed the gameplay for me. Because I can just play around with it, where before it's asking me too much to go back to Sanctuary. So the game has been made more enjoyable actually through the core system. Granted, there's probably getting into the detail of like which of these roles on Mayhem do I like, which things do I like in here more or less, but like at a base, I really like the system.
Mitsu,
Yeah.
how's it been for you?
It's been wonderful. So I'm a little bit of a scaredy pants. I love playing on Mayhem 10 or just like challenging myself as much as possible.
You're
But
a
I still
psychopath.
haven't. It happens. I play Borderlands. So when it comes to looking at Mayhem 10, I'm not there yet. I'm not comfortable. I'm not killing things fast enough. So what I did is I dialed it back a little bit, and I'm hanging out at Mayhem 6. And is it still a challenge? Yes, but I'm comfortably killing things. I'm enjoying hanging out with my friends and playing it. We've done tons of like the runs through Revenge of the Cartels, so that's always been enjoyable. It feels in a great place, and I love the modifiers. No more bullet reflection. Thank God. Thank you, Gearbox. Thank you so much. I cannot emphasize that enough. That is the biggest change ever. You never have to worry about it.
Yeah.
And then going from there, I've enjoyed the scaling so far. I feel comfortable. Weapons still feel powerful, and I'm playing the way I want to play. I know Mayhem 10, it gets a little bit more dicey. But that's why I kind of scaled it back, and I'm enjoying my playway. Yeah, it's supposed to be that
What's up,
way.
Holy
It's
Jumper?
supposed
Good
to
to see you.
challenge you. This is the pinnacle of Borderlands 3 play.
Yeah.
Now, sorry, go ahead, friend.
Just the other thing in the system that they changed here.
How you
right,
doing,
is the
Zombie
fact you
Billy
get
Mays?
Mayhem level drops. I remember when we talked about that on the show, I think for the first time, and I was like, wait, so this isn't just like a level 57 gun at that point. you now can get a Mayhem 3 leveled gun, you know, that you got out of that level. And so anyway, I just like what they've done there because it gives more chase to that. That being said, of course, as Borderlands players, we're going to want to get Mayhem 10, and I think it brings up the question, you know, is that balance right so we can all actually do it? Do you have to play it with teams or single player? I honestly have not really done it.
Yeah, stop being toxic the people that are playing the game if they're not playing on Mayhem 10.
Trying to get the drops.
It's fine.
But
it's not that big of a deal.
That
I
you
promise,
can get
y'all.
some really powerful guns. And also, to be fair, if you have friends and they send you a Mayhem 10 gun, that also you can start wrecking shop with some of those gifted items.
No Mayhem shaming.
Maybe you should come to PlayStation 4, start sending me some Mayhem 10 guns.
Yeah, I'll send you it.
Help me out a little bit, Fran, over here.
Some good.
There have been some issues with Mayhem 2.0, and that's why Gearbox sent around this message.
That's awesome to hear.
Hey everyone, it's Graham with the Borderlands 3 live team.
I love Graham.
Before we talk about Mayhem, I first want to say thank you to our entire community for all of the help and all the feedback you've given us these last few weeks as you've started to experiment with Mayhem. So thank you so much for all of your help. So in case you missed it, last week on Borderlands.com, we posted a blog that went over some of the changes that we'd like to make with Mayhem. Today I'd like to review some of those highlights with everyone and make sure everyone's up to speed. So phase 1 of these changes comes with the Guardian Takedown. In it, we're focusing on Mayhem stat scaling changes.
Stat scaling and gear in phase 1.
So in Mayhem's level 7 and higher, you're going to see the health, shield, and
that
armor
is a nice
stats
piano.
for the highest levels of Mayhem pulled down. At that same time, we're going to take a look at some over and underperforming gear and make some
Oh, he's looking at the anarchy. Don't look at the anarchy.
You'll start seeing Mayhem level identifiers on the item cards for all your
It's
Mayhem
literally
levels.
right on
Phase
the
2 comes
anarchy.
with DLC 3, and in it, we're going to focus on character builders. The big change is non-weapon sources of damage will start scaling relative to the Mayhem level you're in.
That's great.
So action skill damage, melee, slide, slam, they're all going to start scaling relative to that
touch
level.
the anarchy.
Also, grenade mods will start dropping as Mayhem gear, just like Mayhem weapons. And finally, all sources of loot in the game will start dropping Mayhem level gear. So those are just a few of the changes that we've gotten.
All sources
If you
dropping
want more
Mayhem level
information, head to
gear. Hell yeah.
borderlands.com and read the rest of
Slam
the post.
damage, iron
Again,
bear
thank you so
damage,
much for your
grenade
feedback.
damage, melee damage.
Okay, so that's what we've been
scaling.
playing at home,
It's
guys,
gonna
but we
be
actually
sick.
just got our first
What's up,
look
Aiden?
at the new Takedown. Are you ready to talk about it?
Yes!
Oh, yeah.
Talk about the new takedown!
First look.
First look.
Let's go!
That's right. The next Takedown
Wait,
is
go.
officially Takedown at the Guardian Breach. We've all been playing it. Mitsu, I'm going straight to you. What's your take?
It was so it's nice to see that they are not resting on their laurels. This is completely different from what we experienced in Molly 1 Takedown in the best ways possible. And from what I could tell, it's not just about
We're getting a
all of the
DLC
new
4 tease today.
secret things that we probably shouldn't quite talk about yet because there's new enemies and new other things. But
More than that,
the
there's puzzles. There's like these
Yeah.
like things you have to do, right, to advance and go through. It almost feels that raid. And I know that's always been the thing with Takedown, but hey.
There's a few light platforming things. I didn't have
That's
too much of
sick.
a problem with it. I imagine most people
Oh
won't,
my
but
God.
they're there, so you'll have to keep that in mind. But the new enemies are amazing. They have taken strides in making new mechanics happen
Yo,
for
that's
these
a
fights,
big
and
enemy.
it feels like they're going to try and further the story of Borderlands through it.
Why is
and
the
that's what's
quality-
really most exciting to me, because the Guardians have been lying dormant for a long time. I want to see why
Puzzles,
they have
rip
suddenly
speedruns,
burst
unless
forth
you're
onto the
a
scene.
speed
And
puzzler.
that's the thing, of course, right? Like Tanis sends us over to Minos Prime. We get there, we find a world just shattered from within, right? Everything's floating there. You start as soon as we started, and it was like that, not 0G, but lesser gravity. You know what I mean? Where I could jump higher.
Oh
and
my!
longer,
It
and I
looks
was
like
"Oh, man,
Destiny.
this is giving me
It's a
pre-sequel vibes."
Destiny
Like, I'm
raid.
back, you know
Yo,
what I mean?
that's
They
sick.
got jump pads
Look
in
at
there. and
the
it was
jump
very much like,
pads.
oh,
the
like you're talking about,
platforming.
this is still Borderlands.
That's
but
sick,
it's
yo.
taking it in a different direction. It's adding something new. It's also
That's
giving us
cool.
this mystery of what's happening.
It
Fran,
does
cut
look
you off, I'm sorry.
Destiny-esque. Even
No,
the
yeah, I was
setting.
just gonna say, I love that they're
Which is kind of the
for-
direction I was
it's free
hoping, because
content
Necro
as well,
de
right?
Feo
And it comes
area
out
looks.
June 4th. Did
Look
we
at
say
the
that?
door.
We didn't yet. You just announced the release
just
date,
announced
Fran. June 4th, everybody. That is the real release date for Takedown at the Guardian
June
Breach.
4th
Again,
is our
coincides with
release
the
date.
End of Revenge of the Cartels. It's a real release date, June 4th.
Jump the gun on that one. A little excited,
It's
but
fine. No, it's the Borderlands show. We're hanging out. We're having fun.
but the fact
Actually
that
excited
that
about it. Door
it's
champ, baby.
It's got the story. It's got the looks. It's such a cool look.
I don't know. It's cool looking door.
And all all these new enemies coming at you, and it is fierce. And I was just gonna say, remember that takedowns are really more intended to be a raid, and ideally, co-op, right?
Is it
They're
low
gonna do
gravity?
Solo takedowns, and we'll probably see, the
It
same
looked
thing
like
here, but,
it might be.
Man, it's tough, but it's cool that they're doing things like you have puzzles now where people will have to split off and take care of one thing while you're doing other stuff, and so I'm really excited to see how the community gets in and starts optimizing their.
Look at them doors.
Maybe most of you, but
True
Zane
Guardian
shenanigans
takedown.
definitely
It looks
saved me
sick,
more than once
dude.
during that run.
Yeah,
That's all I'm gonna say. Oh yeah, I did some trading places. It was fun.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah.
When you have
left
a
a clone
behind,
behind,
you know what I mean?
Dude,
When you
those
have a pet as
enemies
good as
look
I do with
sick.
Flack, you don't need to worry about this chicanery, all right? This weird
These
magic
color
Zane
tricks.
pulling, all right? You don't need that.
Doors
Flack's out there.
streaming. New
You got
guns?
your
Wait, were
scan,
they
you're
holding
set to
new
go, you're
guns?
ready to get into it.
That's the
So,
KOs.
yeah, this is a difficult one to talk about because I don't want to spoil too much because it is the reveals
KOs
of
have
it, right?
confirmed
But,
not getting deleted.
I
Slamming
appreciated, like, even in
things.
the opening areas, right? Figuring out how to open these doors. There's a platforming puzzle like you were talking about, Mitsu, right? That calls in a bit of what I'm talking about with less gravity, and I don't even know that's how you call it. Fewer gravity? I'm kidding. That's also not correct. But then getting down there and charging up some crystals, and Fran, you hit the nail on the head. Like the game,
Shooting
as
things.
it should in a takedown, isn't pulling punches. Like they're hitting hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna
Yo,
be something
this looks
you
so
wanna really
cool.
like get in with friends and optimize your run through. And yeah, I mean, I love that. That's what takedowns are supposed to be. And again, they sort of talk about it as their version of a raid, and you're definitely feeling it. But yeah, I can, like Mitsu was getting as well, I can feel the evolution of ideas happening here. Like we saw what they did with Maliwan, and now for sure they're bringing so much together. It really is, we're watching in these free events the advancement of a team that spent all these years bringing together ideas, reinventing Borderlands, but you could see it really.
Is that a Crossfire? That was a Crossfire.
Putting
Or
everything
Crossroads, sorry.
into each of the new DLCs and now the takedown. So I'm loving what I'm seeing. I love the color palette as well of Minos.
Recursion,
Of course, you
yo.
can have a bunch
I'm
of
seeing
cosmetics
some
for you to pick up, echo
recursion.
skin, player skins.
Enemy
what were you gonna
mob
say,
looking
Fran?
That's what I was
things.
gonna ask. Like, and Greg, I know you love your cosmetics.
Oh
You're
no!
gonna get more of
When I
those.
get to
Same thought.
run a show and stuff, and I'm like, I get to look, I'm like, where's loot? All right, cool.
Yeah.
Bad Astra player skin, got it. That's what I want. Cosmic communicator echo skin. All right, I'll be all about it.
So as
New
well as
room
the
decorations.
reloading is
I'm
weird.
stoked. I'm excited.
Yeah.
One of the things we've talked about before, and I assume you'll be excited for, Mitsu, and again, the hardcore audience is gonna be excited for, is this quality of life change, right, for the revive system
Yes.
rework. Have you seen this? Of course, larger interact radius, so you'll be able to get in there. Players aren't able to move as quickly, so you can't, as it happens. And I love her to death. Whenever I'm trying to revive my wife, but she's also trying to get second wind, and I'm like trying to do it, and she crawls away. I'm like, no, come back here. What are you doing? Getting
Mine
right
does
in
the
there,
exact same thing. No, I get it. It's good because they're slowing things down a little
Get
bit.
some,
My only
new
concern is if you're playing with the
revive
floor is lava,
mechanics.
the
Very
floor
nice.
still opens up if you're trying to revive
New
somebody, so
playable
you have to keep
characters.
moving
That wouldn't
around
happen for a while.
while you're trying to pick them up.
If it did
That's the only
happen.
time I could see this being a bad thing. Every time else, this is an amazing change.
You re-roll your mayhem then. I mean,
Yeah, I guess
But,
that's fair. Yeah.
but yeah, no, at a base,
morning,
it's
hello.
something from the beginning. I think we all felt, and they talked about it. It's like it was a little tricky to do revives, and now team reviving as well as just there's a larger box in terms of like, oh, I'm picking you up. It shouldn't be as difficult as it was. So
Mitsu,
this will help a lot.
one question for you as somebody who obviously has these shows in your ear to the community, the hardest of hardcore is the highest level of streamers, because of course Fran's a clown.
Whoa,
What
we're
if-
both Zane gang. Okay, if you think you're gonna
Hashtag Zane gang.
separate us, Greg.
I'm gonna get between you. I'll flack my way in there.
Farm you.
What has it been in terms of the legs for the first takedown, Maliwan takedown, right? And are people still playing that as aggressively as they were at launch? I know they changed it and got the scaling difficulties in there. And then what do you think you'll see from this one then in terms of people sticking around?
I feel like a lot of players are currently still playing it. I myself still play it every now and again. It's kind of how I end some of my streams. Just go in there, do a takedown for 30, 45 minutes towards the end, just to run through with whatever I got over the course of the day and see how that measures up with, is it good, is it bad? I feel like a lot of players can use that as a benchmark challenge towards the
What's
end
up,
of whatever
Skag?
they
How
might
you
be
doing?
doing for the day for the same principle. Now, we have Revenge of the Cartels going on right now, as you know, so maybe that's lessened a little bit. But I feel that Maliwan Takedown will definitely stand the test of time because it is an enjoyable experience.
Yeah.
People, it's a takedown. There's an invincible at the end. One of the things I loved in Borderlands 2 was killing invincibles. So of course I'm going to be out there and doing it, and I think a lot of players will as well.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you can find out for yourself what you think of Takedown at the Guardian Breach on June 4th. Again, the same day Revenge of the Cartels ends, you can get in there and get into the new Takedown.
That's going to be a big day, dude. June 4th.
You can be sad about one, happy about the other. Fran, Gearbox never closes a door without opening a window, you know?
What a segue, Greg.
Thank you. Speaking of segues, Greg Way, are you excited about DLC 3? I am. What do I know about DLC 3? Literally next to nothing. I have to keep calling it DLC 3, which I really don't like. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado,
let's go.
Borderlands 3. He is the game director on DLC 3. It's Matt Cox. Ladies and gentlemen, game director of the DLC 3 for Borderlands 3, it's Matt Cox.
Give me Salvador!
Hey, Matt, how are you?
Doing wonderful. I'm honestly incredibly excited for our entire team finally get DLC 3 out so people can enjoy it.
And here's the question number one for the show.
My headset.
Now that you're here, can we stop calling it DLC 3? Does it have a name?
Why not? Sure. Yes, it does have a name. DLC 3 is Bounty of Blood, a Fistful of Redemption.
Whoa!
Fran,
look at that art, dude.
I get you ready to go?
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of like the Western vibe. And
wait,
so
who is that?
I love that it's not just a
it's
fistful
not Amara.
of redemption. It's a bounty of blood, a fistful of redemption.
Yeah,
sounds good.
Yeah, it looks
no doubt.
dope.
Exactly. Matt, so what's the nutshell of this? What is DLC 3? I'm sorry, it's still in me. I gotta get a DLC 3. What's Bounty of Blood all about?
Bounty of Blood. It's a harsh story of revenge and redemption.
So?
I mean, put simply,
it kind of looked
the
like
Vault Hunter arrives on the brutal frontier
planet
say
they saw Salvador in that
in hopes of collecting the sheriff's bounty on the Devil Riders. Now, the Devil Riders are a violent gang of beast-riding mercenaries, and you're going to team up with tough-as-hell locals to protect and help the town of Vestige.
In Borderlands 2.
And help Vestige get back on their feet. And then you take the fight straight to the Devil Riders using new gameplay objects that we have in the DLC and the added Jet Beast vehicle in a gritty tale told by an unseen narrator.
Wow. Okay, so you're not going small this time around.
Yeah, there's a lot there to unpack for sure.
Fran, where do you want to start?
Yeah, man, when I hear that, I'm always looking at the history of how games evolve and how Borderlands has evolved, and I'm hearing for sure, right? New planet and new town and new enemies.
Yeah, absolutely.
The pace that's been set lately.
Yeah, we wanted to try several new things for a DLC. Like, DLCs are a perfect place for us to kind of push things in different directions and small different directions for the Borderlands universe. So we definitely have a good handful of that for this DLC.
I like that you guys are finally like straying away a little bit from the beaten path. We've dealt with Moxie now. We have dealt with Handsome Jack kinda in like a post-mortem for him, and we've dealt with Wainwright and Jacobs and kind of had their story. Now it seems like you guys are going into this new territory, and I'm kind of excited to see exactly what it looks like, how it feels, and how it gets to play.
That looks
nice. One of the things that excites me the most is being able to introduce a completely new cast of characters to the Borderlands universe. So outside of the BO3 Vault Hunters themselves, Bounty of Blood has an entirely new cast of characters. So again, we really wanted to try something new, and these characters are all toughened up by having to survive on this brutal frontier planet. So you can expect a lot of outlaw and cowboy inspirations for sure.
Well, hold on. There's a lot to unpack. I'm insulted, Fran and Mitsu, that he talks about jet beasts, and Fran's like, new planet. That's cool. Tell me about a jet beast.
Yes, please. I want to know what a jet beast is.
Kevin mute him. Well, tell me, Matt, what is a jet beast all about?
Well, at the very beginning, when we were, in blue sky of trying to figure out what this DLC was going to be, and we're like, yes, definitely go Western. Every Western needs its horse, right? But for the Vault Hunter, it's a jet beast, which is half jet bike and half creature that can rain serious destruction on the frontier.
Oh my God, you
with
can give it a
dual
print.
Machine gun, or you can get a mortar weapon. But
it's not a flying
really
dinosaur,
but
I'll take it.
Different dynamic to being on a mount, like combat on a mount. But the Devil Riders themselves do ride
that looks
the
sick.
experimental Saurians that you can fight. But for the Vault Hunter, they ride this pretty badass jet beast.
So what you're trying to sell me on is you're letting me ride a cyborg dinosaur. That's what you're telling me right now.
It's like
Yo,
a
look
jet
how
beast.
open that area
It's not like it is the jet beast. No, it's like a jet bike with a beast head. You know,
oh my god.
Words.
Does
that look sick?
So I'm getting to a very specific question. Is that the jet beast only going to be locked to this third DLC, or can I take it back and use it any of the catch rides?
The jet beast
what
is
did they do to
only
you?
on Bounty of Blood. And actually, at the Catcher Rides in Bounty of Blood, it's the only vehicle that spawns. So we wanted to make sure it was a tailored Western experience for this DLC.
Okay. Now, we've talked about, branching out, and obviously how the last two DLCs have piggybacked off of things we already knew, characters we already knew. Talk to me a little bit more specifically about the new characters that are going to be.
Morty's dead finally.
Well, the two main characters that anchor the DLC are Juno and Rose. Juno is this rough and tumble brawler with a very checkered past, but she's reformed her way, and now she lives on the outskirts of town. Many in Vestige still don't trust her, and she'll have to prove herself by helping us take down the Devil Rider gang.
Okay.
And then you have Rose, who is the first character that we meet in the DLC. She is
that
our
was
guide.
that was
she
the
is
lady
our ally,
in the,
and she helps us learn the lay of the land and helps us fight and find our way into town. And Rose's family has been on Gehenna for generations.
Now, as we see her here in the B-roll and the concept art and all the stuff you guys have for her, she doesn't look like the typical Western character I would be expecting, with cowboy hats and a bunch of chew in her lip. What's her story?
Well, the world of Gehenna in and of itself is beautiful. So you're going to find a wide variety of inspirations that we had creating this DLC from westerns all over the world, anywhere from like 13 Assassins to 310 to Yuma, 7 Samurai, all the way to the good, the bad, and the ugly. So you'll see all sorts of Western
does kind of look like samurai Western
architecture and in the enemy design, but
Asian
even
Western
the music
mashup.
itself.
It looks cool.
One of the things I'm incredibly proud of in this DLC is we took the music in a different direction than I think people are used to in Borderlands as well.
Well, that's something I know. Whenever Mitsu and I get together and talk about Borderlands, music, it seems like, is the one that always comes up, right, Mitsu? Every time we talk about these DLCs.
Absolutely. In Revenge of the Cartels, they had that decided 80s, Scarface theme to this. And then, Matt, you just mentioned The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. One of my favorite songs of all time is The Ecstasy of Gold Rider.
Country J-pop.
The premise that there might be some sort of remix or influences in the new tracks, that got me really excited all of a sudden.
Yeah, again, our music team, our whole audio team always does a phenomenal job from sound to music, and so there's a wide variety of amazing new things for people to hear. I can't wait.
Now, as you talk about all these Western movies and taking influence from them, right? When I think of a Western, whether it be The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, whether it be Back to the Future 3, I think the town is always a character unto itself, right?
Yep.
So, like, how does Vestige play into this in terms of what it is for DLC 3?
I wanted to think of the town as a character in and of itself, and so I wanted the players to have agency over things that happen. So whatever the player decides to do, they come back to town and something subtle changed or something big has changed. For instance, you free a prisoner early on in the story, and that prisoner happens to be a musician that decides to write a song about they call them bounty hunters, but writes a song about the Vault Hunter. So he goes back to the saloon and he starts playing a song. So you can go in the saloon and he's starting to sing a song about the mission.
Salvador, you better be in there.
Every plot mission that you complete, he updates the song.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
Eventually you have this entire song written about what the player has done. Another one, we have a theater in the town, and we have a challenge, like we have kind of our crew challenges that we had in Borderlands 3. There's one that's called that's basically a creature feature. So you find these lost film reels all throughout all the maps, and every film reel that you find, you can walk into the theater and that film reel will play, and if you collect all of them, you get to watch an entire movie inside the theater.
Wow.
So and other things too. I mean, there's lots of examples, but storefronts will be kind of dilapidated a little bit, but then reopen depending on what you do in side missions or challenges. NPCs that come back to town, their roles will change depending on choices that you made, like a choice that you made in a side mission. So it's that sort of stuff.
That's
this
awesome.
this is like a living and
pretty
breathing. You're not. There's nothing static about it at all.
I'm sure
You're
they all got
constantly
Western
building
cosmetics.
this new town the way you want it to be fit, right?
Yeah, it's not really in like a SimCity Animal Crossing thing where a building didn't exist, right? But if you pay attention to the subtleties and some of the silhouettes of things that change, I just want players to feel like they're not only just playing the tried and tested Borderlands loop that they love, but they're actually making a difference on the town that they're saving. So by the end of the DLC, you feel like you're the hero, that you made the change.
You want the changes to have meaning to them, like Reese's mustache, but blown up in big scale.
Yes, we just want to put just giant mustaches on every building, and we have a DLC everybody wants.
Every decision, somehow pertains to a mustache. That's how you guys went with this one.
I mean, speaking of all this like vibe and customization around the Western side, can we expect like it's not even in our run of show here, I don't think, but the skins, everything to go with this Western vibe? Have you guys put, a lot of thought into that?
Yeah, we have a bunch of loot that we've created for DLC 3, special weapons, gear, and skins that you can find out in the world for sure. So all the loot that people love to find and grind for, there's going to be a lot of great stuff for you to find for sure.
Got to imagine a lot of 6-shooters.
There might be
a lot of duels.
A pistol. I don't know.
Oh my god, the midge just got a little cowboy hat on.
No, but our gear team did a great job making a lot of new legendaries for everybody to find that aren't just nipple salads.
The one thing you talked about at the top that we haven't gotten back to that I want to know more about is how does this narrator work? The narrator's not the same as the person I assume singing about me changing everything. So is Marcus mad that he's been replaced?
We don't talk about that.
Okay.
But hello, Maggie.
No, the narrator is essentially a new character. The narrator, he'll be alongside you during the entire DLC. So main missions, side missions, providing commentary, story, and maybe the occasional conversation to the player. It's really great. It's something that I think makes it a very unique DLC, particularly to the Borderlands universe.
So the narrator is actually a character with you. It's not just some disembodied voice talking to me, the player. It's me. It's with my vault.
Audio. The narrator is just audio. You will not see him. You will not see him.
You're not wrong.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I can already hear Zane having like a drunken conversation with the narrator and thinking it's just a voice in his head.
That sounds really cool.
Ooh, a new back.
Yeah, we thought we'd try. That's just one of those little things that we'd try to bring new to Borderlands, and so we're really proud of how it turned out.
Is it
Sorry. Go ahead, Frank.
I was just going to say, is it sort of in a way that, in a lot of Borderlands, Clap's there talking to you, or a character like that very often is next to you talking to you? Is it sort of replace, in a way, the driving forward dialogue that you get from those characters? Like, is this
$10 his niche is alive?
And things to do, and
the narrator talks about a wide variety of things, whether it might be specifically about an objective or context to world building and story building. It really adds a lot of flavor to what Gehenna is.
Cool.
And then the final thing that you mentioned earlier that we haven't gotten back to is these interactive objects.
Oh, yeah.
What is that all about? And I'm assuming that's more world building, like you're saying. It's a different kind of environment.
Yeah, we know Borderlands has such a unique and one-of-a-kind gun loop, and we love the combat loop of Borderlands, but we also wanted to create new gameplay objects that you find in the world that you unlock by doing certain missions. So we have something called a Trader Weed, which turns enemies to your side for a certain amount of time. Eventually, you'll find a Core Sploder. Core Sploder shotguns out like high-damage shrapnel when you melee it. And then there's a Breezer that when you step on it, it's a plant that soars you into the air.
What is that?
And we even have something called a Telezapper that is essentially a teleporter. So we wanted to toss these new gameplay objects into the Borderlands mix, and maybe you can find some secrets with a combination of these objects.
What are we talking about in terms of amount of content versus the other ones? Because what I noticed
that dinosaur thing looks
I was actually surprised with the amount of content in DLC 1, bringing us back to, kind of the vibe with Handsome Jack. But it had some older enemies, let's call it. But it was still great, by the way. But then I noticed in 2, man, you guys amped up tons of just new enemies and just the style, right?
Yeah.
And DLC 2 for me, I'm pretty sure was longer than DLC 1. So how does it compare, to the first 2 DLCs?
I think people will feel incredibly fulfilled with the amount of content that's in DLC 3. I'm not exactly sure, honestly, at this moment, like what the final hour count is today, but there's plenty to do, and it's incredibly exciting. You could spend a lot of time exploring the frontier and all of these other maps with some of these secret challenges. And there's a treasure map challenge that you can kind of use these objects Metroidvania style. It's like, so I do this to do that to go find this. So I think there's some unique ways to sink some time into this DLC, but we definitely have new enemies as well. Yeah, we have Devil Riders using gyrocopters. They're called Vultures, so it's a new flying enemy. We have an incredibly weird creature called a Bellic that you'll come across. That's brand new to
that looks like a Pokemon.
To Borderlands, as well as of course the Devil Riders riding the experimented on Saurians as well. Dino Riders, if you will.
I get
That's
it.
so cool.
I get it, everybody. Dino Riders. Matt, most important question.
Yeah.
When does Bounty of Blood come out?
Bounty of Blood will be out on June 25th.
Oh,
nice.
Right around the corner, Fran.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So we're getting
soon.
Guardian Takedown on June 4th.
Summer.
And then a new
Matt,
DLC
this is
on
when
June 25th.
we pass
That's
it off
good
into the
timing.
mailbag. And
Sure.
the fans of the Borderlands show write into kindoffunny.com/Borderlands, ask you questions, yada, yada, yada. Before I even do that, I know you just talked about Bounty of Blood. You just revealed DLC 3. I still got to know, what about DLC 4? What have you done for me lately? All right, sure, this one's coming June, not that far, a whole bunch of content. What about beyond that?
I can't tell you any specifics about DLC 4 right now, but I know we did bring an image, so we can show everybody.
Image time!
Image.
Nipple salads.
Ooh, look at this.
Ooh.
Got a Psycho.
That's Krieg, right?
Blue. You got some pink going on in the car.
Colors. We promise colors.
You promise colors.
That's
as
Krieg,
much as we're
right?
gonna get out of you.
Is that Krieg?
That's
Yes.
as much you're saying. There's colors in
Can
there.
they just
There
say
will be
that's
gameplay
Krieg?
and audio and visuals.
All right, good enough.
Also,
Thank you,
like,
man.
the world is, like,
it is
falling
time,
apart.
of
That
course,
has to be
to turn
Krieg,
you over
right?
to the audience, who will tear you to shreds. It's the mailbag.
Excellent.
It's gotta be a Krieg DLC. It is Krieg?
All right,
Okay,
Matt,
hell
bit
yeah.
of a
It has
different
to be.
mailbag
It
for you.
has to be.
Of course, a whole bunch of
It has to
people,
be
they all
Krieg.
wrote into
Meat bicycle.
kindoffunny.com/Borderlands, giving us all sorts of questions, but they were incredibly nitty-gritty
Fuel the
about very
rampage.
specific game mechanics. And you've been head down working on your DLC, correct?
That's correct.
So
That's gotta be
what I
Krieg.
want to
That's
talk
hype.
about with you is
That means
what
if
were you
Krieg's in
doing
4,
before DLC?
come on, Salvador
before you were
Axton
the
for
director
3.
of Bounty of Blood. What were you
Salvador
doing at
Axton
Gearbox on
for
Borderlands
3.
3?
I'd be hyped.
Yeah, Borderlands 3, I was the lead boss designer, so I got to design and work on all 4 of the
Inside the
vault
mind of
boss
Krieg. That
fights,
DLC is gonna
as well
be
as
sick,
NPC
man.
stuff, but man, designing bosses was a ton of fun.
So yeah, talk to me about that. How did you come at tackling these giant monsters, right?
Well, I wanted to have 4 tentpole fights that felt a little different. So you had, Rampager, then you had the Grave Ward just like pulling out of an island for like the big boss fight, but then Troy was sort of a dance. Like I wanted the Troy fight to feel huge, but it's not a huge actual, mesh or an actual mesh. Whatever.
Sorry.
A huge actual person. He's mostly life size,
Please,
and then
sorry.
wanted to go full out creature for the final boss fight. So I wanted them all to have their own sort of identity for sure.
And so when you're doing that, do you have just a blank check from the team? Like, how does that work in something as collaborative as game making to sit there and design these bosses?
I mean, a little bit. Like, you can't stray too far from the Borderlands loop, but they are truly unique creatures that don't necessarily
Krieg
have
goes
an
as far
enemy
as
class. So
Troy.
you do kind of have a blank check within technical limitations. So, no, it was
Krieg. It was definitely
an
Krieg.
incredible sandbox.
It was
and I felt
definitely
like a
Krieg.
kid
It had
trying
to
to come
be
up with
Krieg.
some cool stuff for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say I personally love bosses in Borderlands. Seemed like you increased the focus on them. Are you feeling good about bosses as a part of Borderlands going forward?
I thought our entire team, from audio, animation, art, and our designers, like we had a ton of people work on different types of bosses. I really feel like we delivered a great set of bosses all across the board for a Borderlands game for sure.
They're all like really well designed. Grave Ward especially is a personal favorite going back and
we love Grave Ward.
I struggle so much with Tyreen. I don't know why. She's just, for some reason, I don't have the accuracy that, like, my friend Liz, she's a Deadeye. Like, she will always nail the weak spots without having to do anything. Help me out here. Is there anything you can do that can, like, give me an edge over Tyreen? Because she whoops me sometimes, and I get sad.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody has really figured this out. Like, there was their period of time, like 2 months after it came out, I was like on YouTube. I'm like, all right, people have had to have found this like hidden mechanic, but I've never seen it. Anyway, so there's the Iridian rock formations. You know, when you get the resonator, you can melee like the Iridian rocks, right? Because they have like the purple crystals. You find them around. So one of her meteors that she throws at you, like that she throws at you a lot, is made up of those same Iridian crystal chunks. So I'm like, surely as it's coming to them, people are going to think to melee it right back. So I was very inspired by a classic Zelda fight, so where you could just melee that huge meteor right back to Tyreen, and it staggers her. And so her face, you know, pours out of her weird chest cavity.
Wait, we're gonna go try that. So, what the hell?
I figured people might pick up on it, but I didn't do my job well enough, and I don't think people. it was such a frantic fight. They were just like, oh my god, and so they weren't just like, oh, look at that thing. I remember I can melee those shapes of things.
Wow.
So
I can't wait to try that.
But maybe, like, hopefully now everybody can go try it out, and like as that's coming to you, instead of getting out of the way, just work on the timing to melee it and watch it go back, and she'll just like stagger.
That's so cool. I don't think I've ever seen anybody do that so far.
Yeah.
So how do you wrestle with that as a game designer? You put in a mechanic you thought was so clever, and we're excited people get, and then they just don't even do it.
I just cry for at least 3 days, and I tell myself to get over it, and then it's like, all right.
That would be sick, dude.
It's just fun trying things, and it's a little bit of a bummer that people didn't pick up on it, but it wasn't intended to be, you know, a mechanic people had to find, but it's one of those secret mechanics. And for the Rampager, one of our great creature designers, Ruben, and there's a bunch of people, a lot of people contribute to how bosses come out. It's never just one person.
Of course.
But you know, the Rampager has 3 different forms. And so if you remember the old arcade game,
don't say
Rampage,
shoot the legs.
Oh yeah.
You'll notice that the 3 main avatars of Rampage are the inspiration for the shapes. You have the ape shape, you have the beast shape, and you have the dragon, the lizard shape, right?
Wow.
So it's literally the Easter egg is in the name Rampager.
Dang, it was staring us in the face.
I feel so stupid,
right?
Wow.
We all
I can't believe it. Yeah, I never put it together.
There was actually a time I love our writers, and it's like, oh, we're gonna rename this because this is such a temp designer name. And then I'm like, but wait, it's not. Please keep the Rampager.
Here's the lore behind it and what we're trying to achieve. Wow. You just blew my mind. Twice in back to back. How many other things are there in Borderlands 3 that people just don't pay any attention to? They run for the shiny gold epic and get out.
Yeah, who knows? I know those are the first 2 things that come to mind for me for bosses, though.
Wow.
For sure.
Pretty neat.
And so then how do you go from being a boss designer to be somebody who's directing, you know, this DLC?
You know what? Gearbox does a wonderful job working with people and helping them take their next steps in their career. I've had an amazing time working at the company. So this opportunity just arose, and it sounded like a really awesome opportunity to figure out how to be a creative director on a DLC. And I had some ideas, and we have a lot of great people that have their ideas, and trying to corral all of that, which is great. Oh, Western way. Oh,
there you go.
Corral a Western.
You got it on the brain. You got it on the brain.
I'm a dad. I have fun now. None of my jokes are good. But no, it just sounded like a great opportunity, and so I went for it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I now seeing some of that, because I've talked to a few folks now.
We did get a hot fix
today. Have moved around, and I love actually that creative expression seems to be coming through in these DLCs. They are truly each kind of different in their own way, and also like the music.
Actually, be June 4th.
I really love the variety. Actually,
big patch with all the stuff is June 4th.
You want to be very careful about consistency and brand, and
called Borderlands Secrets.
I'd watch that. It feels like you take some of the stuff to the limit and let people kind of just dream, and I'm seeing it come through. So
I appreciate hearing that, because it is an honor to work with such a talented team, for sure.
Well, Matt, thank you so much for spending the time and coming to the Borderlands show.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Now, before you go, you get the privilege of revealing the shift code. All right, so every episode we have a shift code. It pops up on screen. Code. Usually I have people do like this on the desk, but we don't have a desk. So I don't know how you want to use your postage stamp of size to reveal the shift code.
The DLC does not come out June 4th.
I don't know what to do with my hands. Maybe I can reveal a shift code, and it's here.
There you go. I made you a sound effect too. That's what I did. You did great, Matt. No, don't worry. No, you crushed it. Don't worry. Exactly. That's what we are all about here on the Borderlands show, ladies and gentlemen. Matt, thank you so much. Remember, of course, your DLC is coming out when again?
June 25th.
June
Bounty
25th.
of Blood, A Fistful of Redemption. No longer DLC 3.
I can't. Yeah, exactly. DLC 3 is dead. But ladies and gentlemen, what isn't dead, Greg Way, is Ask a Psycho.
June 25th is the DLC.
Ask a Psycho.
June 25th is the DLC, and June 4th is the Guardian
Mary
Takedown.
from Montreal writes, Psycho! That Psycho in the DLC 4 key art looks rad and nothing like you. Are you offended that you are the face of Mayhem, and after 7 episodes of the Borderlands show, they overlooked you, tossed you aside, and cast a younger, hotter, whole life in front of them, Psycho?
Thanks, Carzo.
No, Mary, it makes perfect sense to me. It's fine. Don't worry.
Is that Moxie? Okay. Yeah, that's me.
Oh, God.
Ask a Psycho.
Thanks for watching the Borderlands show, everybody. Fran and I will be back sometime in the summer with details about DLC 4 and all that kind of stuff. You know how it goes, Fran. Maybe, when are we going to be back? We're like Santa. You never know.
Keep your eye on Borderlands.com.
Well, and you didn't acknowledge the Santa joke. I sound like an idiot if you don't. Anyways, don't worry. Don't worry, Fran. We'll move on. Hit us up with your questions at kindoffunny.com/Borderlands to be part of the show. Make sure you're following Borderlands on all of the social medias there. Of course, follow us on twitch.tv/Borderlands to watch the shows we do it live. Subscribe to youtube.com/Borderlands game to catch it later on demand. Of course, like I said earlier, remember, there's now an audio podcast feed, so you can go to your favorite audio podcast service, subscribe to the Borderlands feed. You can get them all there. You'll be all about it. That. Fran, you'll just get every Borderlands show ever.
There wasn't
Doesn't that sound
nice? Official trailer. We'll probably get a trailer
later this summer.
And hey, do you like that Fran Zane statue back there? Do you like my Borderlands shirt? You can get it all at store.2k.com.
I didn't even realize that was a Borderlands Hawaiian.
About that. Ladies and gentlemen,
sick.
Until next time, Vault Hunters,
follow.
Yay! Solid show. Very solid show. I need to add, I will